The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is a suspense-filled tale that has enthralled readers for over a century. Set against the haunting backdrop of the misty moors of Devonshire, Holmes and Watson embark on one of their most chilling cases. Through intricate plotting and vivid characterization and a blend of suspense, mystery, and the supernatural, Doyle weaves a narrative that keeps readers on the edge of their seats. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and the Hound of the Baskervilles, today on History by the Book. When one thinks of the English countryside, we envision charming cottages adorned with roses, idyllic churches, and pastoral landscapes. But if you're Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you just might be envisioning a glowing hound from hell. I mean, just look at him there, sitting at his desk, looking like a literary badass. And that's because he was one. He had to be, in order to create a character like Sherlock Holmes. No less than 58 short stories and 4 full-length novels featuring Holmes flowed from his pen. And which one is the greatest is still up for debate. But I'm willing to bet that when most people hear the name Sherlock Holmes, the first story they think of is The Hound of the Baskervilles, a tale that Doyle himself called a real chiller. So how did Doyle transition from lush pastures to dark, desolate moors with devilish secrets? Well, it appears that the inspiration came during a golfing holiday in Norfolk with his friend Bertram Fletcher Robinson. The two friends had planned to enjoy a few rounds of golf, but Mother Nature was being a bitch that day, and she interrupted their game with a storm chasing the two men indoors. But she might have actually done Conan Doyle a favor, because while they sat safe, warm, and dry by the fire at the Royal Links Hotel, which was sadly demolished by a fire in 1849, Robinson likely regaled Doyle with some local legends. One tale was that of the Black Shuck, a monstrous hellhound with red eyes the size of saucers that haunted lonely lanes. And in 1577, the Black Shuck burst into Holy Trinity Church, killing 2 parishioners and leaving scorch marks on the door, something the locals refer to as the devil's fingerprints, which have remained to this day. Now, Robinson, who had lived in Dartmoor as a child, probably told Conan Doyle about the Doer, an amalgamation of the devil and some pagan gods, who was accompanied by a large black dog. The Doer and his hound from hell haunted the moors by leading lone travelers to the top of the Doer Stone before disappearing. The confused traveler would then take the wrong step off the cliff, plunging to their demise below. Robinson would have also told Conan Doyle about Squire Richard Cabell, a vile, vicious man who supposedly made a deal with the devil, and may have very well been the inspiration for the wicked Sir Hugo Baskerville in Doyle's novel. Now, legend states that Cabell was an insanely jealous chap, and suspecting his wife of infidelity, he chased her across the moor. After Cabell caught her, he stabbed her in the heart, and her faithful dog, a large hound, killed Cabell by ripping out his throat. But before Cabell expired, he mortally wounded the large hound, which then lay down by his mistress and died. Now, this is an unlikely story, as Cabell's wife actually outlived him by several years, and something this spectacular probably would have been written down somewhere. However, there is another rumor that upon Cabell's actual death, a pack of large ghostly hounds surrounded his tomb, howling mournfully, and every year, on the anniversary of his death, Cabell and his ghostly pack haunt the moors. There's that sound again. Anyway, here's a picture of Cabell's tomb at Holy Trinity Churchyard. This is the final resting place of the Cabell family, but their rest has been anything but peaceful. During the 18th and 19th century, the churchyard was a hotbed for body snatchers, and in 1849, the church was set on fire. And in 1884, it sustained a lightning strike. And, if that wasn't enough, during World War II, it also sustained some damage. But it was in 1992 when a fire lit by supposed devil worshippers gutted the church, leaving it nothing but a shell. Now, regardless of which tales Robinson relayed, he was undoubtedly the source of inspiration. Doyle himself acknowledged this in a letter in which he wrote that Robinson had remarked about a spectral dog near his home in Dartmoor. That remark was the inception of the book. But I should add that the plot and every word of the actual narrative was my own. Nonetheless, Doyle did share some of the royalties with Robinson. After musing over these eerie legends, Conan Doyle and Robinson ventured to Dartmoor, with Robinson serving as their guide. They hiked across the desolate landscape, accompanied by Robinson's coachman, a chap named Harry Baskerville. They explored sites like Grimspound, a prehistoric settlement, immersing themselves in the landscape that would serve as the backdrop for Holmes' investigation. As for Baskerville Hall, there are a couple of possible candidates. One was Brook Manor, which was home to none other than the depraved Squire Cabell. But the house itself doesn't really match up with any of the descriptions of Baskerville Hall in the story. Perhaps the most likely candidate is Folscombe House. Now, there's not much left of it today, but at one time it was a grand Elizabethan manor, described as having 2 towers with crenellations and mullioned windows, which does match Watson's description of Baskerville Hall, with its twin towers, ancient, crenulated, and pierced with many loopings. To the right and left of the turrets were modern wings of black granite. A dull light shone through the heavy, mullioned windows. So we have the inspiration and we have the setting. But what about the Hound itself? Well, Doyle adds a touch of the uncanny in this novel by taking man's best friend and turning it into a creature of nightmares. Watson describes the Hound as an enormous coal-black hound, but not such a hound as mortal eyes have ever seen. Nothing in the delirious dreams of a disordered brain could anything more savage, more appalling, more hellish be conceived than that dark form and savage face which broke out upon us from the wall of fog. But what kind of hound was it? Well, Watson speculated it was a combination of bloodhound and mastiff, and Sherlockian scholars debate, well, because that's what Sherlockian scholars do, that it could have been anything from a combination of a Doberman Pinscher and an Irish Wolfhound to a Great Dane to an American Pit Bull Terrier. Now, if you've yet to delve into the world of Sherlock Holmes, The Hound of the Baskervilles is a great place to start. With its diverse set of characters, Gothic settings, and hints of the supernatural, it makes for a suspenseful and thrilling read. Now, whether Conan Doyle originally intended to make this a Sherlock Holmes story is speculative, as Doyle actually wrote the story in 1901, 8 years after he had killed off Sherlock and Professor Moriarty at the Reichenbach Falls. So the novel predates Holmes' assumed death. And while Conan Doyle stated he never regretted killing off Holmes, he did express pleasure at his posthumous resurrection. In a letter to his mother, Conan Doyle stated that in The Hound of the Baskervilles found Holmes at his very best. Now, if you like this story, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing, because there'll be more coming soon on History by the Book. Bye-bye.